Hello and welcome to the Week in Geek. I'm Jason.
I'm Jake. I'm Adam.
And in this show, each geek is going to have 3 minutes to give you their favourite geek news story of the week. They can say what they want, highlight what they need, and break down whatever and whoever they damn well please. And with each segment, we're going to have 3 minutes on a timer, to give you that glitch perspective. So I'm going to be going first. Adam, Jake, please leave. So, 3 minutes on the timer. Let's go. Right, so my geek story of the week is to do with Visceral Studios closing down. I guess that has a knock-on effect on the untitled mystery Star Wars single-player game. Now, Visceral Studios, if you don't know who they are, they used to be known as EA Redbridge or Red Bush, I can't quite remember, but they're essentially just a sub-developer for EA games. They were founded in 1998, and up until 2009, something like that, they had the EA Redbridge Red Bush title, and all they really did during those years were movie tie-in games, franchise games. As it happened, I only found this out last night, they actually did the Lord of the Rings Return of the King movie game, which was a fucking sick game. Are we agreed on that? We are agreed. They also did The Third Age, highly underrated RPG. Anyway, their breakout hit and what they're most known for is Dead Space. And it was after that they became Visceral Games. Back in 2015, they started doing an untitled solo Star Wars project. But they had a real coup, like a real asset to that team. And that was Anne Henning. If you don't know who Anne Henning is, Anne Henning was the director and writer of the original Uncharted trilogy on the PS3, which, of course, as we can all agree, whether or not you like Uncharted or not, Jake, Adam's a huge fan. Uncharted was an achievement in gaming in its own right, especially single-player cinematic gaming. And ever since Disney bought out the Star Wars franchise from Lucasfilm, well, no, actually they bought out Lucasfilm, but they bought it from George Lucas. One of the big things about that many geeks around the world mourned of was the loss of a game called Star Wars 1313, which was this. It looked amazing. Like, you played this bounty hunter, it was a single player, it looked cinematic, it looked like an Uncharted ripoff, but we were all fine with that. But that got shelved the moment that Disney brought out Star Wars. So, of course, this was the light at the end of the tunnel for this. This was the great hope that we were going to have this amazing Star Wars single-player video game directed and written by one of the best, writer-directors of the past 10 years for video games. But no, Visceral Games has been closed down, and that Star Wars game, that's been handed out to EA Studios worldwide. I'm not sure if that is a specific company or if it's just a whole conglomerate of them. And apparently one of the main reasons for this is they want to pivot, as Adam pointed out earlier to me, they want to pivot with replayability. Now, this is a euphemism for multiplayer. Now, I don't need more multiplayer games. I want a single-player game. If I'm playing the Star Wars universe, I want to be immersed in that universe. I want to play something amazing and really feel like I'm there. Feel like Star Wars is happening to me. And personally, not until Knights of the Old Republic, I haven't had that. So, that is my Geek of the Week news story. Visceral Studios closing down. Please come back in, geeks, and let us discuss. So, what do you think of Visceral Studios closing down and the loss of this? Well, we're not losing this Star Wars single-player game, but it's not going to be the same beast that it once was. What are your thoughts?
I think it's stupid.
You think it's stupid?
It's very stupid, because EA is being EA and just putting their meddly little fingers on everything they can. You know, it's like, we got those dollar bills coming in, how can we get more dollar bills?
Fair enough, what do you think?
I don't know how to follow that up.
More dollar bills?
More dollar bills! No, I do feel it's disappointing in the sense that it would have been nice to have a good single-player Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Like, a really good one. And obviously, 1313 looked so promising, and interesting facts, that was Boba's clone number in the Clone Wars for his trooper.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
In the original expanded universe, he was Trooper 1313. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's so many multiplayer games on the market, especially with Star Wars Battlefront 2 coming out.
Yeah, and of course, Battlefront 1, this is a common grievance with you, isn't it? You felt like Well, there wasn't a single player mode, really. You used to have campaign, which was a beautiful single player mode, and it just became a multiplayer game. Do we need more multiplayer games, more multiplayer Star Wars games?
No, I think
Not
that
really.
we really have a space right now, a real space that is open for people to experience single player again. You know, okay, I get that the fad of multiplayer comes in and out within the gaming industry. You know, a couple of years ago we had good story games. A couple of years before that, Call of Duty started to really take off with its multiplayer. You know, it kind of fluctuates, but I feel like we're really in this slump now, where gaming companies like EA, all they see are through their little rose-tinted glasses of, well, this is what we want because it's what's most profitable and it's what we can do easiest.
Yeah, you
Rather
know,
than actually take a risk.
microtransactions, paying real money for fake virtual weapons and these sorts of things. No, certainly, definitely. Because, I mean, if you think about it, just to finish up my little segment, if you think about it, I think what is most disappointing about this is that, you know, I'm only like 26. Like, I'm not the youngest or the oldest gamer out there, but, you know, growing up, like, really, you know, my first main consoles were from the PlayStation onwards.
Yeah.
And back then, the single player games were always the focus, and it felt like multiplayer was tacked on. We've seen a weird change in the past like 5 years or so, where it feels like that's the opposite now. Now it's all about the multiplayer game, and we're gonna just tack on some single player mode. Anyway, that's my week in geek. Jake, you're next.
I am next. So, for those of you that aren't aware, yesterday-ish, the Punisher trailer dropped for the Netflix series. We now have an unredacted release date of November 17th this year. Obviously, Punisher was very well received in the Daredevil series. The teaser trailer didn't give too much away besides the fact he's clearly being pursued by outside forces. This trailer gives us a little bit more of a taster of what we can expect from the series. So, for those of you unaware of the Punisher as a character in the comic continuities, Frank Castle is an ex-Marine who served in Vietnam, and he's come back and his family are killed in a mob shootout in Central Park. This just sparks something in Frank, and he goes on a one-man war against crime, admittedly with many more fatalities than Batman's one-man war. And it looks like they kind of were going to go down this route with the Daredevil series. However, what we get from the trailer is a few things. First of all, during his time in the military, Frank was sort of a Black Ops military hitman-esque figure, torturing targets, taking out targets. Very much a man created in this mold, and it looks like that's something they're going to dwell on. Was Frank always destined to go down this route, or is this something that was triggered by his family's death? At some point, it's kind of established that he's walked away from the military, and they're attempting to tie up the loose ends. And I would say that suggests that maybe we're going to see who is actually responsible for the murder of Frank's family. Looks really, really good. It's very nice to have a primary unpowered character in an MCU affiliated series, because obviously the films always focus on the superpowers. Daredevil's got his radar senses, Iron Fist has got his glowing fist, Luke Cage is unbreakable, and Jessica Jones can fuck you up and fly. That's all great. Punisher isn't that. Punisher is a man with a gun going on a war. And I feel like sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle of the MCU. There are people that are just out there doing everyday things. Now, I have to be careful what I say here, because Jason hasn't seen Homecoming yet, have you, Jason?
Woo! No.
And this is what Spider-Man Homecoming did really well with a character who shall remain unnamed, but I'm sure if you've seen it, you know who I'm talking about. What would a world with superheroes be like? Do people just get on with their everyday lives? What happens when it affects them? And we've kind of had the affecting of a superhero. We've kind of had a superhero affecting Punisher's life in Daredevil, and now we're kind of just going to see a man going out and doing his own thing. Other noteworthy things, Karen Page looks like she's going to feature quite a bit in this series. As well as that, we have a character who, and I haven't read the cast list to avoid spoilers, but I'm assuming is Microchip. For those that don't know Microchip, he was essentially Punisher's armourer in the comics. Had a similar background, had lost his family to crime and wanted to set Frank up. And that is my Glitchy Geeks news of the week.
Oh, fantastic.
With 10 seconds to spare.
Ah, cool.
So, having seen the Punisher trailer, lads, what do we think?
Can't wait.
I think it looks really good. I think it looks really, really good. I think I have to agree with you that I think it's a welcome change of pace that we're going to have this unpowered vigilante hero type character. But I think the main thing that I got from the Punisher trailer is that it felt a little bit like a return to form to me.
Yeah.
Because I think what was most successful about the earlier Netflix MCU films was that they had taken this slightly more realistic, grounded, gritty approach.
Yeah.
You know, Daredevil was a character that could be broken.
Yeah.
He was someone that had to live with the ramifications of like the bruises and the scars that he picked up. You know, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, maybe necessarily not so much, but the way that they kind of, I guess, tackled the themed crimes of the week kind of thing, you know, whether that kind of be like, you know, the Harlem kind of like gang violence, tribal violence, that sort of thing, or whether that be Jessica Jones. And, you know, Jessica Jones, that first series, I guess, was almost like just a huge running commentary on, you know, misogynistic, you know, abuse, really. So that was really nice about it. But then I think Iron Fist lost it a bit because it became a little bit lighter and a little bit happier, and there didn't seem to be any real lasting consequences. But with this, it feels like they're going back to that. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think it's got the potential to be one of the best Netflix shows, just from the trailers alone. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I used Metallica, so I'm just a bit like, yeah, you used to Metallica, that'd be great.
They kind of like just pumped you up directly.
Like, I wouldn't mind if that was the actual intro.
Yeah.
Like, that would be
Fair
awesome.
enough,
I would
yeah.
love the fuck out of that. A 30-second, you know, little like. Sorry for that. But yeah, I'm so pumped for it. I love the Netflix Marvel series, and I just can't wait to see what they do next.
I think the costume looks great.
Yeah. One thing I am
Very
worried about
beautiful.
is not worried about. I'm just intrigued about is Karen's role in the series. What are the lasting consequences for her going to be from this? And are we going to see those carried on into Daredevil season 3? Because I know a little bit about her backstory in the comics.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to go fully the way it goes in the comics, but I feel like maybe we're going to get some hints as to that.
To be fair, I would not be surprised if she ends up with Punisher. Because she was the one that took a shine to him initially in season 2 of Daredevil. And she was the one that very much pitied him and was just like, look, we gotta fix you up, Frank. And clearly she's gonna play some kind of role in this series as well. So maybe that will happen. But taking bets, do you think Claire will appear? Is she contracted to appear in every Netflix Marvel show?
I think for the Defenders, it's
Yeah.
important for her being Night Nurse to appear, but because Punisher is not, he's the only one so far we're getting a show of who is not a Defender. So
At the moment, that's assuming that the lineup doesn't expand if they go for a Defender series too.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I would say the big thing that I took away from the trailer was they're clearly going down the whole conspiracy thriller route. And the best MCU movie, as we all know, is Winter Soldier. And what's that? The conspiracy thriller. I've got high hopes for this. Possibly the best Marvel Netflix series if it hits it right.
And if it's not, they're going to be punished.
Kinky.
Anyway. Adam's turn. So Adam, please, give us your geek story of the week.
How do I set this up? So, just a few days ago, the Star Wars Battlefront 2 trailer dropped, and it had a lot to show in a very small, confined amount of time. Some bits we'd already seen before. It got me very excited because we actually got to kind of get a feel for what the actual overall story is going to be, following this Imperial squadron, this specialist unit, the Inferno Squad, being played by, and I'm sorry if I get this wrong, Janina Gavankar. And also, following her are two other actors, one who is Paul Blackthorne, who she has appeared alongside in the show Arrow, back in the first season. We also have Sam Witwer. Yes, but you know, he famously played Starkiller in The Force Unleashed. He has done the Darth Maul and Sidious voices throughout the Clone Wars and the Rebels series, and he'll be doing the voice of Palpatine in this. Whether we only get Palpatine in that one bit that we've seen, however, that's to be left kind of in the open, I guess. One thing that I am kind of curious about is actually how they're going to be able to play on the idea of following the Imperial story. You could say that this is kind of like the antithesis to Rogue One, in the sense of, in the actual 10-minute gameplay that also was launched alongside it, you hear a line of dialogue saying that Inferno Squadron was created with the end of the first Death Star to ensure that something like that didn't happen again, which parallels Rogue One, which existed to assist in destroying the Death Star. So it's kind of like an interesting parallel in that sense. And she has her own little droid companion and everything. I guess you couldn't say it was a droid companion in Rogue One, but in that sense, it does seem to have a lot of parallels within that. There are also a few other questions I have. For instance, we see a sort of occupation or assault on Theed. Leia seemingly seems to be there. We see the back of her. I wonder if there's going to be any story implications featuring there, considering her mother is buried there. We also seem to see the game start off on the Battle of Endor. I'm curious to know if they're actually holding back, and maybe there's actually a bit before that. It would be interesting to see if it goes, how far back they'd be willing to go with it, and how much actual time we're going to see within the story mode. One thing I do have a concern with is that this is a shooter game, it's a story mode, it has the potential to have a lot of story told. However, it also could be limited by the genre it is, and it might only end up being a 4-hour campaign, which would be disappointing. However, it's kind of limited by what it